Hi everyone, my name is Steph. This is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel and welcome to a book tag video, which I haven't done one of these in ages. This is the end of year book tag. I typically don't film the end of year book tag, mostly because I don't feel like I have a lot to say. But you know what? I'm going to ramble for a bit. Hopefully this video won't be 20 minutes long, but also it could end up just being 5 minutes long. I don't know. The end of year book tag was created by Ariel Bizet. The questions have been updated for 2025. We're going to talk through them. I've not actually read through all of the questions or really had to think about the answers to them, so good luck. So the first question, are there any books that you started this year that you need to finish? Let's face it, any book that I officially start, not a try chapter start, if I don't finish reading it within a couple of days, it's not getting read. So the answer to this is no. The more complex answer is yes, I've started a lot of books in terms of trying the first chapter of a lot of books, and I have a list of those, which I will come back to over the next little while. I don't feel the pressure to need to continue those straight away, because really what I'm kind of doing in those videos is weeding out things that I want to keep and things that I want to get rid of. Yes, I do read books in those try chapter videos and things like that, but the books that I start a chapter of and I don't read straight away is not an urgent pressing need on me at any given point in time. So I don't really count them as started as such, because I've read one chapter. And if that first chapter is bad, it's gone and deleted from my collection anyway. So it's not going to get read at any point. So no, there's nothing that I've started yet that I need to finish, which is always good, because I don't feel the burden of hanging on to things that I've started. If I'm not compelled to keep reading it, it's gone. Question 2 is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? The answer to that is no, because it is not autumn here, it is spring. The one thing I will say about tags like this is that they are very Northern Hemisphere centric, which is a little bit disappointing. And yes, I know I could change the word to spring, but this is how the question is worded. In terms of, do I have a spring book to transition into the end of the year? No, because I don't really think books are spring themed, if that makes sense. I'm sure there are some, but I don't feel the need to transition into a season because I just read what I want when I want anyway. My one suggestion here would be to make it less Northern Hemisphere themed as a question and make it more general in terms of, are there any books that transition you into the end of the year and the season of the year where you exist? This is why I don't film tags like this. Question 3 was, is there a new release that you are still waiting for? This is kind of hard for me, just mostly because I'm really bad at paying attention to what's coming out. I do know that N.R. Walker has the next book in the Heartbridge series coming out. They're seasonal books that are centered around the holidays. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. I actually haven't looked up to see if it has a title yet. I should probably do that at some point. If there is a cover or whatever, I'll pop it on the screen. I think that's the only one that I have on my radar, which is not to say that other books don't exist. I just haven't paid good enough attention to it. I'm a terrible booktuber. Question 4 is, what 3 books would you like to read before the end of the year? In my TBR video, I talked about I want to finish the series books that I have, but if we're talking about 3 specific books at this time of filming, I would like to finish Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, which hopefully by the time this video goes up, I will already have finished because I'm audiobooking it at the moment. I would also like to read House of Omega by Roxy Collins, which is a book that I picked up at Rare. I'm intrigued by, because even though I've recently talked about the fact that I'm not really a big Megaverse reader, I'm not going to dive into the subgenre as a whole, but I do have that one. I was intrigued by it. Mostly I was suckered in by the beautiful art prints that were done by it. You get me with good marketing, guys. And also I would like to try and read Grave Situation by Louisa before the end of the year, because I love her books. This is one of the few of her paranormal / fantasy books that I haven't read. It's a queer fantasy book. It's her first fantasy book, and I'm deeply intrigued to try it. Question 5, what trends have you noticed in your reading this year? Well, this year has been an interesting year for me, and I should probably at some point do a video. I know I've talked about it, that I should do a what has changed, because I was sick for a couple of months in the middle of the year and I did really change my reading. But big trends, I will read anything if it's in an audiobook. I don't care about the genre. Even genres that I don't like, I will read as an audiobook. I've read litfic, I have read horror, I have read fantasy, I have read non-fiction books on topics that I would not normally pick up. If it's in an audiobook form and the narration style is good, I will read it as an audiobook. The other thing I guess I've noticed is I do love a TBR. I am the kind of person who, when I get stuck in a rut, sometimes having a choice means that I will pick something up. Sometimes it doesn't work, but a lot of the times it does. So having a set TBR, but changing up how I do the TBRs every month. I have my own categories, but I also have my prompts. I also have challenges or readathons that I'm a part of. And just choosing one of those to help me narrow down my TBR for part of the month has been really helpful, because then it just leaves everything else open for me to mood read. And I love a mood read. I love just picking up random things. I guess if you followed me at all for a while, you'll know that while I'm still primarily a romance reader, I have kind of fallen back into some of my old reading habits, which is I will just read whatever I feel like reading. If it sounds good, if it's got a good cover, if the marketing is great for it, I'll probably pick it up and try it. And sometimes I find the best books that way. So I can't say that I'm truly just a romance reader. I never have been, but I was for a few years, that was the like 90% of what I was reading was romance, whereas now I think I've gone back to maybe 40%, 60% of what I'm reading is romance, actually maybe it's 70-30% of what I'm reading is romance, and I'm dipping back into other genres, which is a good place for me to be, honestly. Question 6 is, how do you feel about your reading goals? Is there anything you want to change or adjust or abandon? Not really, because I think I set my goals to be fairly achievable. I think I'll hit all of my TBR bingo board from hell goals. I hit all the 52 book club challenge goals. I'm not the person who goes out and sets something that is aspirational for goals. I set something that is achievable for me in terms of reading, because I don't want reading to be a chore. And I always make sure that around mid-year, I go back and evaluate those goals anyway, and I adjust them. You've seen me adjust the series goals, you've seen me adjust other things. There is no point waiting until the end of the year to adjust your goals. If you hit mid-year or you hit a quarter of the way through the year and things are just not going your way, you've got to change them sooner rather than later. Waiting until the end of the year, which is the silly season, and we know that things are just hectic and chaotic, whether you've got a lot of family things on or just the end of year work stuff is happening. You can't change your goals. I mean, you can change your goals. You could 100% change your goals now. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. But I think if you're waiting to this point to change your goals, I feel like that's just putting too much pressure on yourself. But I mean, each to their own, and I would never dream of telling anyone what they should do or shouldn't do, because it's totally subjective and totally personal. But I'm happy with my goals. I've already adjusted them for the year. Most of them have been achieved in some aspect, and others, there's just like a handful of things that will tip me over into completing them. So that's always my aim in terms of my goal setting. And maybe people think I'm weird because I don't set hugely aspirational goals, but I read 500 plus books a year. What's an aspirational goal for that? I do that without even thinking about it, and it kind of makes it difficult. Like next year, I don't even want to set a Goodreads goal. If I do, I'm probably going to set it to one book. Normally I do 52 books. I don't even care about that. If I'm reading, I'm reading. That is my entire goal in life, is to just make sure that I'm continuing to read at whatever pace works for me. And question 7, the final question, is, have you started making reading plans for next year? Yes, I have. This is probably the question that I'm most excited about, and I'm hoping to do an individual video about this anyway. But one thing I would like to do next year, you guys know I like spotlighting Australian authors. That's just something that I like to do, because even though there are some very popular, very famous Australian authors that do get big reach overseas and all that, I like to spotlight the indie romance authors and all of that, because the more people talking about them, the more people hear about them. And my goal next year is, I don't know whether I want to do it as a little bit of a reading club. I have contemplated reopening my Discord just so that I can do like a book club discussion about some indie romance books and authors. I don't know, you guys can let me know if you're interested in that, in which case I'll do a video and I'll talk a little bit about the ideas that I have for it. But where I would spotlight an indie romance author from Australia who I haven't read before each month. That's something that I would like to do. I am getting rid of the monthly wrap-ups as they are. This year was my trial to not do weekly wrap-ups and to do monthly wrap-ups and to do project-based reading, which I like the project-based reading, but I hate the monthly wrap-ups at the end. I got some good suggestions in my channel survey around that. So I'm thinking about reformatting all of that. I am probably bringing back the weekly wrap-ups next year. That's probably the biggest thing. I just hate talking about a lot of things all at once. Again, terrible booktuber. So yes, I've started making plans. I've started making plans like months ago. Like this is how I work. I have lists of things that I'm working through, and I'll have more information about some of the specifics of those in the next month or so. So stay tuned, and let me know about the book club idea, because I won't be doing live shows for it because I've already got the Guild Hunter live show read along thing happening, but I could open up my Discord back up and have sort of discussions there, and then I might do like feature vlogs or something like that. But yes, that is the end of year book tag. First half is probably very boring, and the second part is, I don't know, marginally interesting. In the comments, I'd love to know, how is your reading going? Are you happy with where your reading has been this year? Have you found some books that you've loved? That is my hope for everyone, is that you find at least something that you walk away from the end of the year going, this book was great and I loved that reading experience. If you just want to let me know that you're here but don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a book stack emoji. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.